Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Wednesday, July 27th, 2022. It is 3:02 p.m. This is set to go until 3:30 p.m. This is a hybrid meeting. We're in Building 1, Room 280. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. Vice Chair Ty Menser joining me here in the boardroom. Commissioner Gary Edwards is excused for this week. We have Robin Campbell, our Assistant County Manager, joining us via Zoom, as well as other staff members here today. We also have some guests from the SSWAB Advisory Board, and the topic on today's agenda is CPED SSWAB Annual Briefing, which stands for the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board. So welcome.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Nancy Winters, and I am the Vice Chair of the Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board, or SSWAB as we call it. And Jacqueline Simmons, who is the chair, regrets that she cannot be here because she was called into an adjudication meeting. And she hopes to get on via Zoom when her adjudication meeting is over. With us on Zoom and in the room, we have some of the other SSWAB members, and I'll ask them quickly to say their names.
Brett Niederhood, District 3 SSWAB member.
On screen. Okay, David.
David Hartley, District 1 Storm and Surface Water Advisory Board member.
Phyllis.
Pardon my voice, Phyllis Farrell, District 1.
And Jake.
Jake Wager, I live in District 1. I'm an at-large member.
Thank you. So we're well represented here today. I thank you for taking the time to meet with us today and for already knowing what the SSWAB was. So I'm impressed. This is an informational briefing, and we will summarize SSWAB's recent work and upcoming priorities. As you know, the SSWAB is a voice for the communicating the public's values to the utility and to assist in making recommendations that balance the appropriate level of service. Providing the appropriate level of service requires the utility to be good stewards of the public funds, of the environment, infrastructure, and private property, while receiving continual feedback from the ratepayers. In attachment B to the agenda item, you will see that the SSWAB consists of 9 members, and 5 of us are here today. Oh, and Larry is our staff member to the SSWAB, so we work with him all the time, and I was glad to be here earlier to hear his presentation to you. Those 9 members are from within the rate boundary. Our work supports several initiatives in the county's strategic plan, including increasing the opportunities for informed and effective public engagement. We currently have 3 vacancies, and we have been recruiting. If you have any potential candidates and/or you have any recruiting techniques that would be good, we would be very much appreciative of your input today. The key roles and responsibilities of the SSWAB are described in resolution number 15450, section 2, and those can be found in attachment A. I'm not going to go over those today. What we are going to do today is review the SSWAB's 2021 work and then review performance measures that were presented to the BoCC a year ago. So we'll give you an update on those. We requested and received presentations on several topics this last year. Low impact development code revisions, the scope of the county's municipal stormwater permit obligations, including the annual report requirements that Larry was just talking about, the education and outreach programs, stormwater facility fiscal report. We also have received information about the following topics, and we were asked for our advice and input. The first of those is the performance measure update that I will talk about in just a moment and spend most of this presentation on. The second is Splash, and Splash is the annual stormwater utility newsletter. We had input both to the format and the content this last year. And finally, we provided input to the stormwater management program plan updates. That program plan was required to be updated by the permit, and then we provided input to that as well. Last year, we came to you with performance metrics. We listened to your input, and we have included some of those here. And if you have questions as I go through these, please ask. I think it'll be more relevant if you ask as I go through them. So in the performance metrics, we have the numbers of inspections completed. The county completed 100% of the county-owned outfalls, and that's 143. So we inspected 143 outfalls this year. The county also inspected 49% of the catch basins within the permit regulated area. That's an almost 1,000 inspection increase over 2020. The county inspected the rural area, catch basins in the rural areas, and saw a 72% of them were inspected, and this is an increase of 80 inspections over 2020. So I think as we have, we show the metrics more and more, you can see trends and so on. 100% of the stormwater treatment and flow control facilities were inspected, approximately doubling the number of inspections since 2020. The next metric is about the number of untreated county outfalls, county-owned outfalls. The total number of untreated outfalls did not change from the year 2020, and that is 56. The outfalls that are treated per the standards saw no change as well from 20 to 21, and that remains at 23. The outfalls that were treated via vegetative conveyance ditches rose from 29 in 2021 to 64 in 2022, and that's a 2.1% increase.
Can I ask the question
Please.
on the outfall discharge, the untreated and the treated per standards? The numbers didn't change, but why did the percent change?
I'm sorry.
So on the untreated, the 2020 and 2021 numbers, right? They remained the same at 56, but I'm seeing the percent of total changed from 2020 from 40.6% to 2021 to 39.1%.
I think that's because the total number of outfalls changed between 2020 and 2021. There are 64 in the last category as opposed to 59.
Perfect, okay.
Okay?
Kind of similar on the previous bullet under A, 100%, but the number went up like doubled. Stormwater treatment and flow control facilities, is that something notable that we went from 156 to 320?
It is notable, and I asked that question myself.
What does that mean?
So mapping of the system is a continuous process, and new facilities are coming online constantly, and as they come online and are mapped and attributed, our inventory, our asset inventory increased. So this jump recognizes that work, that increased areas that were surveyed and attributed and added to the stormwater facility asset management system.
And what exactly is a flow control facility?
A flow control facility is a best management practice to attenuate the flow coming out of our storm sewer system, so it mitigates any erosive forces on the receiving wire at the stream bank, so it attenuates the flow.
So it's like a detention pond. It fills up until it to the design capacity, and then it starts only releasing so much at once.
Yeah, and meters it out. Instead of a blast in the storm, it may catch it and hold it, and then meter it out, so it doesn't have that erosive impact.
No, I think I got it. I mean, the word facility, I guess, is what kind of throws me off. That sounds like a constructed thing, and this could just be an area that's like a catch pond or something, right?
Yes, but it is
Little
engineered.
pond.
Yeah, they're engineered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with, metal or
Yeah,
wood.
it can take the form of many configurations.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. I'm going to move on to our inspections, our identification of deficiencies and corrective actions taken. So in this metric, the number of identified outfall deficiencies increased from 0 in 2020 to 17 in 2021, and of those 17, 11 were corrected. So there were a greater number of outfalls, both identified and corrected. And the treatment and flow control facilities deficiencies were also greater in number and corrections. We went from 28 to 37 identified and from 28 to 34 corrected. And finally, the catch basins, we actually went down in the number of that were identified and in the number that were corrected. These are those that are identified with deficiencies. We had a measure of the number of flood-related road closures, and the goal is 0 for a 10-year storm, a 10-year rain event. The county is continuing to develop a stormwater asset management database called ViewWorks, and that database is designed to capture and identify those flood-related road closures. So when that's finished, we can actually begin generating numbers for you. And finally, from last year, we looked at the measure to increase the funding for pollution identification and correction program, or the PIC, funding directed at county-owned municipal stormwater discharge locations where pollution poses risk to shellfish. And there's some good news here. The county received $1 million from the Department of Health to fund PIC and on-site sewage compliance work between July 1st of 2021 and June 30th of 2023. This now brings us up to a total of 5 FTEs who are dedicated to pollution identification and correction work in Thurston County. And it includes a dedicated PIC program lead, which is really wonderful. The county is expected to receive a $250,000 grant from the Department of Ecology to conduct a large-scale project that targets homes in the Black Lake watershed. And the project will begin in late 2022 or early 2023 and will continue through 2024. And the county has some remaining money, approximately $228,000 remaining in a former Department of Health PIC grant. That grant was in particular passed through from EPA's National Estuary Program. The grant expires at the end of September of this year.
Could I say something on that?
Yes, please.
So that second paragraph there where it talks about the additional money for PIC, that's the foundational public health money, am I correct about that?
Public health received that money, yes.
Yeah, and I didn't, well, as I remember the discussion when the board got the money, I thought it was $500,000 that had to be used on environmental health anywhere, which the board then decided we want to put that all 100% of the money we got toward PIC. It wasn't that we got the money to be used for PIC. It's that the board made the decision that that was the highest priority environmental health area for which the money could apply. Now, if it's $1 million, if somehow that became $1 million, I'm even happier, but I don't remember it being quite that much, but I just remember that we agreed to dedicate 100% of that funding source, which was more flexible toward that. I just want to make that point because it wasn't just, there was discretion applied there by the board, and we really wanted to focus on this area, so.
Yes, and we thank you for that, and I think it was 500,000 per year, right, Larry?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, because you're talking about a 2-year.
Right.
Yeah, correct. Okay, yeah, so that's the exact money. So, yeah, we could have used that for other environmental health purposes, but this is where we wanted to put it, so.
Yeah, and I think it's a great place to put it because it does identify pollutants in specific areas and then take actions to correct those, so.
And you guys can maybe help us evaluate that in a couple of years and say, was that, is that making a difference, and is that the right way?
Yeah.
Because I think this is ongoing funding that maybe in future years
It is, and that leads me directly to the recommendations. We have no new recommendations for you this year. However, we appreciate your recommendations and continue to appreciate your enthusiasm towards getting those. What we are looking for probably in the longer term is a more stable funding source rather than grants. So that we can continue, because of course, there are always ongoing pollution concerns, so. And if we could also augment that with additional grants, that would be great. So we'll probably come back to you next year with another recommendation, and yes. So before I close, do you have any other questions?
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
Okay, so I'm looking at the 2020 recommendations. There was adopt performance metrics, and I'm imagining that that's what you're reporting back, and we sort of worked on that, and you worked on that.
Yes.
You talked about number C, a business plan for the utility. We just got a presentation this morning about a study that we're conducting. Larry's nodding his head. That seems like, it says develop a business plan to guide proactive strategies, planning, and set level of service. And I think that's what our study that we just are launching off is going to be about. So that's good. It sounds like we've responded to that. So I'm just wondering about the pet waste stations, and you've got that in your 2020, and I don't know, how did those work out, or have we done anything there? Or your second recommendation from July 2020 was study effectiveness of county's pet waste pollution prevention, including mapping the pet waste locations, station locations.
Larry, can you address that?
Yeah.
I didn't bring that information.
Yes, SWAB actually just got a presentation on that program at their last meeting, staff presentation. The stations have been mapped, but I think the vision is to have them geolocated, so we can add it to the county's asset management system, ViewWorks. That precision mapping has not occurred yet. Staff is considering that might be a good project for an intern if one becomes available. Staff explained that their current evaluation mechanisms for that program have been issuing a survey to neighborhoods who have received those pet waste stations, and to self-report qualitatively to what extent they feel those have helped reduce pet waste in their neighborhoods. And I believe the figure was
70% reduction.
well, that's what the aim is, but I think their self-reporting was about 70%. So they said the future plans include reissuing that survey perhaps on a every other year basis. There's been discussions with SWAB and staff amongst maybe doing spot check field surveys for hotspots or problem areas. So there's definitely been more, since SWAB identified this as a focus area, there's been more staff attention put on that.
Okay, yeah,
program.
thank you. I just hadn't heard anything about it, so I just wanted to make sure we were being respectful of your recommendation on
Thank you.
No, yeah, that was a good one. I don't have any questions besides the ones that we've already asked. But I do want to thank you because, I mean, this is amazing, the year in review, the presentations you've gotten, it just looking through it, we can tell you've been, very busy at work, and it's just great to know what you're working on, and of course your recommendations, so we can continue working on this and continue funding in the future these different programs. So this was really a great presentation. Commissioner Menzer, anything you'd like to add?
So I'm just curious if anybody remembers, I don't know but you've got on your topic list for presentations, Thurston County Healthy Forest Project.
Yes,
What was that about?
we had that, is that Ashley?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the grant that we've received with the City of Olympia that Ashley Araya is working with to map our forests and or our tree cover and canopy and create some analyses on where we're seeing the conversion of those particular forests to development. And more of that information will be coming back to you through the Planning Commission.
So this was just letting SWAB
Let
know
SWAB
kind of what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, and there is a nexus between
Yes.
stormwater and trees.
Absolutely.
Because stormwater is slowed down
Yes.
by trees, and more water is taken up both by the trees and by the soil under the trees. So that was this year that we had that presentation, so we'll probably come back and talk to you next year about that. But we were all very impressed with Ashley's presentation.
Well, we had, the Board of County Commissioners expressed concern about cutting trees above Summit Lake. And it's that very issue. With the trees removed, the creeks that flow directly into the lake will then have, increased stormwater and all sorts of things, sediment and things that have caused continual water quality issues within the lake. And so we have, work that was done by Thurston County in the 90s that identified these concerns, and DNR just kind of puts up their notice that they're going to do that. And the citizens started with me because it's my district, but I brought the issue to the rest of the board, and we agreed to ask for, some reconsideration. We've gotten that reconsideration. I think we have a meeting with DNR in August. They will agree to slow down and consult with our hydrogeologist, and we'll see if it relates to anything. But it relates directly to that issue. So the board's kind of knee deep in some of these issues with regard to forest and stormwater.
Yes, and we're very appreciative for your interest in that, because trees serve so many functions. It's not just stormwater control, but it's also sequestration and noise pollution and cooling and just the whole gamut. So yes, thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, it is 3:26 p.m. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. And I missed the meeting in Pebbles
Oh, yeah.
because it was just last week.